And we continue with number 34. Giving up on getting well is the path to cure. I really prefer to use words other than medical terms like cure in the context of neurotic problems, but we have grown accustomed to talking about impractical living in medical terms. In Japanese, the term Naoru, naru, means not only cure, but any kind of fixing or correcting. One can have one's car cured or cure, a mispronounced word. In Japanese, the term that Marita used doesn't have an exclusively medical sense. Marita was making the point here that certain kinds of thinking never lead to cure. If only I could cure this anxiety, everything would clear up in my life. Or, if I could get cured, all this misery would go away. Or, I've got to get well so that I can lead a normal life. On the contrary, an attitude of, even if I get worse, it's all right. Or, there's nothing wrong with staying neurotic the rest of my life, offers much more hope in leading to cure. What a paradox. Sleep is the same, isn't it? The harder we try to make ourselves sleep, the harder it becomes. When we give up, the chances of sleeping increase considerably. It is the same with stuttering and some sexual dysfunctions. There is something about the pressure of attention that creates tension and reduces the chances of harmonious, smooth, natural functioning. Giving up offers our attention the possibility of turning outward, letting our inner functions take their natural course. We can begin to trust ourselves even when we hurt ourselves. Back in the 1920s, when a person suffering from neurotic insomnia would come to this famous professor of Japanese medicine for help, Marita would tell the patient that it would have no effect on his health at all whether he slept or not. The patient would go home and sleep soundly for the first time in weeks. The next night, the patient would have figured that the way to get himself to sleep is to cease to care about it one way or the other. So he would try to consciously create a state of mind in which he didn't care about sleeping. Of course, he would be awake all night. Again, he was trying to force the sleep, this time using what he thought was a technique he learned from the doctor. I suspect that many people who read these pages will make similar attempts. It is not only that trying to cure oneself doesn't lead to cure, but also that trying to cure oneself is neurosis at that very moment. In the same way, forgetting to work at cure is at the very moment cure itself. Those who have experiential understanding of these words know the essence of this constructive life way. The harder you try to make the suffering go away by your will, the further you are from relief. One of my students in Los Angeles felt dizzy when eating at home, but not when eating in restaurants. For 6 years, she was unable to enjoy meals at home. She caught on to this principle of non-resistance after only 2 sessions and was amazed at the results. With her best efforts, she was unable to even generate some dizziness when dining at home. The struggle against the possibility that dizziness might arise was the neurosis itself. Number 35, page 93. When you become interested in others' conversations, you're on the road to cure. Marita noticed that some people came to his group meetings only with the intention of listening to material that would help them get cured. They tuned out when any other topic of conversation emerged. I know some people who read psychology and psychological self-help books exclusively in the hopes of curing themselves. When the sole criterion about whether something is worth hearing or worth reading is how it relates to me and my problems, there is little chance that the listening will lead to a positive end. Number 36. Becoming a willow in the wind. Marita advised people who suffered from anxiety attacks to become willows in the wind. Just like the willow that bends with the breeze, they were not to oppose the panicky feelings that they were about to have a heart attack, that they were about to die. Of course, regular physical checkups are necessary for anyone, but people with this condition have frequent attacks of desperation and anticipation of shortness of breath, chest pains, and sudden death in the presence of no genuine life-threatening physical illness. Their attention is on how to keep the attacks from occurring, how to eliminate their fears, and how to keep themselves alive, because this time it's real. The vital step toward cure for these people is, as expected, to stop fighting their condition. While fearful, while worried, they must bend like wind-blown willows, but keep themselves firmly rooted in their ongoing activities. They must continue their doing without taking a break to joust with their feelings. Number 37. Wise parents keep their eyes on reality. Parents who give no guidance to their children and parents who pressure their children with too much guidance produce children who don't behave the way their parents prefer. In both extreme cases, the parents are lost in their own thoughts. They fail to observe the reality that includes their own children. Constructive living emphasizes the need to keep on observing reality and learning from it. Reality includes children. Parents who study their children learn about the children and about themselves. They modify their guidance to fit the needs of the child's circumstances, rather than trying to apply some unthinking across-the-board abstract principles. More than 10 years ago, I did a study of a young suicidal and psychotic man who allowed me to live alongside him for an extended period of time in Reynolds and Farborough, 1981. I observed and recorded what he did from the time he woke up until the time he went to bed. Of course, I tried to avoid being a strong influence on his life during the period of study. I ate when he ate, slept when he slept, entered and left rooms when he did, and so forth. The more I worked at understanding what Chuck was about, the more I found out about myself. I began to notice the way I send signals to others that it is time to be ending a conversation. The way my body has become accustomed to taking nourishment at regular intervals. The amount and patterns of my sleep. As I tried to keep my behaviors under control so as to allow Chuck the maximum freedom possible. My usual habits became noticeable as they changed to fit Chuck's schedule. Chuck taught me about myself. When we focus exclusively on ourselves, we learn little. The more we focus on what reality presents to us, as I focused on Chuck, the more we recognize the truth that the elements of reality, including our children, have much to teach us. We learn about reality and about ourselves as part of it. Number 38. Joy and sorrow are like the seasons. Summer is hot, winter is cold. Joy is wonderfully pleasant. Sorrow is crushingly unpleasant. There is nothing we can do to make sorrow pleasant. We can't make ourselves enjoy grief or self-doubts or jealousy. There is nothing directly to be done about these aspects of reality, except to acknowledge them and to live within their bounds. Even with the steadiest of behavior and the best of luck, we won't escape their influence at times in our lives. Number 39. Put your body in a busy environment. People who are constantly self-conscious and uptight would do well to put their bodies in a busy environment, Marita advised. The advice holds true today. In busy circumstances, we have a greater chance of being pulled into activity. Lying on the couch at home alone increases the chances of even further inactivity. Inactivity breeds inactivity. The shy, self-conscious individual feels some relief by retreating from a busy, active workplace in society. But more constructive relief comes from getting caught up in business or play activity within a more social environment. We become more interesting speakers and writers by getting out in the world, not by sitting idly at a desk or practicing long periods of meditation, said Morita. The human mind needs to move about to refresh itself. Morita called the active, seeking mind, quote unquote, the mind that lives nowhere. Its natural state is to be constantly on the move with a sort of light alertness. When we become active in our world, we find much to learn. When our attention wanders to some current obsession, we lose the alert flow of attention to the moment's reality and nick our finger while peeling the apple. This lesson cannot be learned by sitting comfortably at home with pen in hand. A variety of situations create a variety of learning experiences and a variety of selves for development. Thank you for listening.